A winter storm has arrived uninvited over the countryside. The sky is a bruise of purple and black, and the trees surrounding the vast D'Armont estate have long since surrendered their leaves to the season's cruelty. The estate is enormous 4 stories of dark stone, torchlight bleeding from narrow windows, battlements worn smooth by decades of wind. A fortress in the shape of a home. A black carriage rolls through the iron gate. Servants scatter. Dogs pull at their chains. The household braces. Duke Lucien D'Armont, 33, descends from the carriage without offering his hand to anyone. He wears riding clothes, dust on his coat, and an expression that has long since forgotten how to ask for anything. He moves as though the world owes him a wide berth, and the world obliges. His estate manager, Jared 50s, meets him at the door, gray-faced and deliberate. "Jared, your grace. We were not expecting you until tomorrow." Lucien. "Then tomorrow came early. Is there a problem with that?" Jared, carefully. "No, your grace. The east wing fire has been attended to. Minor damage only. And there is a matter regarding the appointment you approved. The new archivist. She arrived this afternoon." Lucien, she. Jared, a Miss Isolde Ravenshade. Credentials from the Thornfield Academy. Lord Vale submitted her name himself. A pause. Something moves behind Lucien's eyes, not warmth. An assessment. "Lucien, where is she now?" "Jared, in the East Archive, your grace." She began immediately. Lucien says nothing. He takes his gloves off one finger at a time and passes them to a waiting footman without looking at him. Lucien. "She'll be supervised. No access to the private correspondence rooms. No access to the South Tower, and I want a full accounting of everything she touches." Jared. "Of course, your grace." Lucien moves inside without another word. The doors close behind him like a verdict. The archive is magnificent in its neglect. Rows of shelves stretch to a vaulted ceiling, crammed with leather-bound volumes and rolled documents tied with faded ribbon. A single chandelier sheds orange light. Dust lives everywhere. Isolde Ravenshade, 30, is at a work table near the window. She has dark hair pinned back with a deliberate simplicity that suggests she has not thought about appearance at all, or has thought about it very carefully and chose this. She is reading, making notes in a small leather book, her posture perfectly composed. She does not startle when the door opens. Lucien enters. He studies her the way he might study a contract, looking for the clause that ruins everything. "Lucien, Miss Ravenshade." Isolde finishes the line she is reading. Then she looks up. "Isolde, your grace." Lucien. "You were told I was not expected until tomorrow." Isolde. "I was. I chose to begin the inventory regardless. The archive appeared to need it, a beat." He had expected an apology, perhaps a curtsy. She offers neither. Lucien. "The archive has been in this condition for 6 years. Another day would not have killed it." Isolde. "Perhaps not, but I find it easier to begin with the oldest materials and work forward. Another day would have complicated the sequence." Lucien. "You've been here 4 hours." Isolde. 5. Silence. Lucien looks at the table. Her notes are neat, her categorizations precise, her handwriting small and unhurried. He does not compliment her on this. Lucien. "You'll receive the formal terms of employment in the morning. You are not to remove any document from this room. You are not to discuss the contents of any correspondence with anyone on this estate or off it. If you find something that appears irregular, you bring it to me. Not to Lord Vale, not to Gerard, not to anyone else. To me. Isolde, evenly understood." He waits for something more, a question, a protest, nervousness. Nothing comes. Lucien. "Why did Vale recommend you?" Isolde. "I imagine he thought I would do the job well." Lucien. "That isn't what I asked." A pause that doesn't feel like hesitation, more like consideration. Isolde. He attended a lecture I gave at the Thornfield Symposium 2 years ago, on provenance and lost documentation in noble estates. He said afterward that he found it useful. Lucien. And you took the position based on that? A single introduction? Isolde. The work interested me. Lucien. The work, not the wage. Isolde. The wage is sufficient. The work is what I came for. He holds her gaze for a moment longer than necessary. Lucien. You'll find this archive dull, Miss Ravenshade. Years of correspondence, household ledgers, guest registers. Nothing of consequence. Isolde. Most things that matter are found in the dull places. Lucien says nothing. He turns and leaves. Isolde watches the empty doorway for exactly 1 second, then returns to her notes. Morning light falls through tall windows onto stone floors and old portraits. 14 D'Armont stare down from the walls. Most of them have Lucien's jaw and none of his burden. Lord Thaddeus Vale. 42 arrives as though he owns the place, which in terms of influence he nearly does. He is handsome in a weathered way, with easy charm worn smooth by years of practice. He embraces Lucien warmly in the front hall. Thaddeus. You look dreadful. Lucien dryly. You always say that. Thaddeus. And it's always true. You're working yourself into the ground, Lucien. Come back to the city with me. Parliament is dull without you. At least you make the others nervous. Lucien, I have business here. Thaddeus. You have avoidance here. There's a difference. Lucien pours 2 glasses of brandy from a sideboard, though it is barely 9 in the morning. He offers one to Thaddeus, who takes it without comment. Lucien. Tell me about the archivist. Thaddeus, light smile. Ah, you've met her. Lucien. You sent her. I'd like to know why. Thaddeus. Because your archive is a disaster, Lucien. You've let it rot. For years. I attended a symposium. Heard a woman speak with complete authority about document recovery and historical organization. I thought of you immediately. Consider it a gift. Lucien. I don't recall asking for one. Thaddeus. You never do. That's why your friends must occasionally act without permission. There it is, the word friends, deployed with such casual certainty. Lucien drinks from his glass rather than respond. Thaddeus. She came highly recommended, quiet, professional. She won't bother you. Lucien. She already has. Thaddeus, amused. Has she? Splendid. Maybe she'll bother you into some semblance of human behavior. Lucien sets down his glass. Lucien. Stay for dinner if you like, but don't suggest I return to the city again this week. I mean it. He leaves. Thaddeus watches him go, his smile fading by degrees into something more careful, more watchful. Isolde works steadily. Her system is becoming clear, stacks sorted by decade, a separate pile for water-damaged documents, a ledger growing with her own inventory entries. But there is another stack small, set to the side, almost hidden behind a larger pile. These documents she has handled differently. She reads them more slowly. She copies certain passages into her small leather book. She pauses at a letter dated 7 years ago. She reads it twice. Something changes in her expression, not excitement, not alarm, recognition. She folds it with the same care as all the others, but she does not put it in the general inventory, a vast table built for a family that no longer exists. Lucien sits at the head. Isolde has been invited, or commanded, it's unclear, to join him for dinner. She sits at the far end, 10 feet away, separated by silver candlesticks and the ghost of a formal occasion. They eat for some time in silence. This is not uncomfortable for either of them, which is itself unusual. Lucien. You were married? It is not a question. Isolde does not look up from her plate. Isolde, I was. Lucien, widow? Isolde, yes. Lucien, how long ago? Isolde, 4 years. Lucien, and yet you took a position that keeps you from any city or social occasion for months at a time. Isolde, I prefer the quiet. Lucien, or you prefer to avoid society's sympathy. A beat. She looks up now. Isolde, yes, both. He nods once, as though this is the first thing she has said that he understands without effort. Lucien, I read your Thornfield paper. On provenance. Isolde, mildly surprised. When? Lucien, last night, after our introduction. Isolde, I didn't realize you had a copy. Lucien, I had someone acquire it this morning. Another beat. She processes this without reaction. Isolde, and your assessment? Lucien, the central argument is sound. Your chapter on falsified provenance in the Marion estates is particularly well observed. You're thorough. Isolde, is that a compliment? Lucien, it's an observation. Something almost like a smile crosses her face. It is gone quickly. Isolde, well then, your archive has excellent bones. Someone organized it with considerable intelligence about 60 years ago, and then it appears someone else has been quietly moving things, not stealing, rearranging. Certain correspondence eras are out of place. Lucien, still. Which eras? Isolde, the decade ending 12 years ago, and the 4 years that followed. Silence stretches between them. The candles do not waver. Lucien, leave that section alone. Isolde, if there are gaps in the provenance record, they should be Lucien, quietly, absolute. Leave that section alone. Isolde holds his gaze. Then she sets down her fork. Isolde, as you wish. She returns to her meal. He watches her for a moment, then does the same. 2 people keeping secrets at a table set for 12. The house is asleep. Isolde is not. She has a candle and her leather journal and the stack she has been quietly compiling. She reads carefully, cross-references. A name recurs across multiple documents, Lucien D'Armont, née Vos. The Duke's late, or perhaps not so late wife. And another name, appearing in 3 letters that seem to have no reason to be here, buried beneath unrelated household records, Vale. She writes a single line in her journal, underlines it, closes the book. Rain hammers the windows. Lucien stands at a high shelf, pulling down a volume, when he becomes aware of a presence in the doorway. Isolde. She has a question in her posture that she hasn't voiced yet. Lucien, I said leave that section alone. Isolde, I did. I'm here because I found something outside the section you mentioned. A letter misfiled in the 1830s correspondence. It belongs to a more recent period. I want to know where to place it. She holds it out. He comes to take it and stops. He recognizes the handwriting from across the room. His hand does not move. Lucien quietly, where did you find that? Isolde. Behind the 3rd shelf in Section 4. As I said, misfiled. Lucien put it in the fire. Isolde. I don't. Lucien, turning away. Put it in the fire, Miss Ravenshade. Please. There is something in the word please that stops her. It costs him to say it. She can hear that. She walks to the fireplace and holds the letter over the flames. But she has already read it. She already knows what it says. She lets it go. Lucien does not watch. He stands with his back to her, one hand braced on the bookshelf, and he breathes until his shoulders stop being a monument to grief. Isolde, quietly. Shall I leave you? Lucien, oh, stay. Read your books. He does not turn around. She does not leave. She picks up a volume and settles into the chair by the window, and the rain continues. And neither of them speaks again for a long time. But she watches him, and somewhere behind her composure there is grief that mirrors his and fury that has not yet found its full shape. The estate is alive with light and warmth, flowers, laughter from a distant room. A younger Lucien, lighter in his eyes, less carved in his jaw, walks quickly down the corridor with an expression of quiet anticipation. He has a small package, wrapped in cloth, something he chose himself. He rounds the corner and stops. Isolde D'Armont, late 20s, stands at the end of the hall with a man. She is speaking in a low, urgent voice. The man's back is to us, but his coat is distinctive. The cut, the crest on the shoulder. Lucien cannot hear the words, but he sees Evelyn's hand on the man's arm. He sees the way she leans in, and he sees the letter the man presses into her hand, a letter she takes without hesitation. He stands very still. Then he turns around. He does not drop the package. He carries it with him around the corner and sets it very carefully on a side table and walks away. He does not go back. Snap back to now. Lucien at his desk, staring at nothing. A knock. Lucien, come. Thaddeus enters, easy as ever, carrying wine. Thaddeus. You've been in here since morning. Even the portraits are concerned. Lucien. What do you want, Thaddeus? Thaddeus, company. Conversation. To remind you that life outside this estate continues to function. He pours wine and sits down across from Lucien with the ease of a man who has done it 1,000 times. Thaddeus. How is the archivist settling in? Lucien. Why do you ask? Thaddeus. Because I sent her. Natural curiosity. Lucien. She's thorough. Thaddeus. And? Lucien. Unsettling. Thaddeus, smiling. In what sense? Lucien. She doesn't want anything from me. Most people who come here want something. Thaddeus. Perhaps she simply wants to do her work. Lucien. No one comes to a place like this and wants only to do their work. Thaddeus tilts his head as if considering this, then laughs softly, and the laugh is warm and genuine, and wrong in a way Lucien cannot yet name. Thaddeus. You've been alone too long, Lucien. You're starting to see patterns in everything. Lucien, patterns are how you survive. Thaddeus, quietly, almost tender. No, patterns are how you avoid living. Lucien looks at him. Something unresolved passes between them, years of it. Lucien. The archive. She said things have been rearranged. Not stolen, moved. A stillness enters Thaddeus that was not there a moment ago. Almost imperceptible. Almost. Thaddeus, archives are messy. Servants get careless. Lucien. Over a specific 6-year period? Thaddeus, coincidence, surely. He refills his glass. His hand is perfectly steady. A rare, clear day. Isolde walks the grounds, her leather journal in hand. Though she is not writing, she is thinking. Lucien appears from a side door. He does not acknowledge her at first. He walks the path himself. It is clearly a habitual route, worn by years of use. He becomes aware she is on it and adjusts his direction. She does not. They end up walking parallel, 20 feet apart in the same direction for some time. An accidental promenade. Lucien. You could walk the other path. Isolde. So could you. He makes a sound that is not quite a laugh. Lucien. Were you happy in your marriage? A long pause. The question surprises her, or rather the directness of it. Isolde. In the beginning. He was a kind man, quiet. We understood each other without much effort, which I valued greatly. The last year was difficult. His illness. Lucien. Were you ever betrayed? By him? Isolde, turning to look at him. No. Were you? He stops walking. A bird cuts across the sky above them. Lucien. I believed I was. Isolde. Those are different things. He looks at her for a long moment. Lucien. What does that mean? Isolde. It means that what we witness and what actually occurred are not always the same, and that betrayal is sometimes engineered, arranged for an audience of one. He goes very still. Lucien. Why would you say that to me? Isolde. Because you're a precise man, and precise men deserve precise questions. She resumes walking. He stands where she left him, watching her go, something shifting in the architecture of his certainties. Isolde lays out documents on the floor in a pattern of visual map. Letters, ledger entries, receipts. She moves between them like a cartographer mapping a conspiracy. She traces a line with her finger. A series of payments routed through a shell account she's found in the 1848 ledger. Payments that correspond in timing to the weeks before Evelyn D'Armont's disappearance. She pauses, checks, cross-references. The payments are authorized by a signature that is not Lucien's. She closes her eyes for a moment. Then she begins to write. Dinner again. The candle distance between them has shortened not by invitation, but by the slow gravitational pull of habit. 3 weeks have passed. Something is different, and neither of them has named it. Lucien. You're not eating. Isolde. I'm thinking. Lucien. About the archive. Isolde about the archive. A pause. Lucien. What do you think of it now after a month? The estate, not just the archive. Isolde. I think it is a beautiful place that has been asked to hold too much sadness for too long. Houses absorb what happens in them, I believe, and this one is heavy. Lucien. And what do you do with a house like that? Isolde. Open the windows, eventually. He looks at her. Something in the look is unguarded for the first time. Lucien. My wife. Evelyn. I haven't spoken her name aloud in 3 years. Isolde, quietly. What happened to her? Lucien. She left. One morning she was simply gone. No note that I found. No farewell. I was told she had departed to relatives in the southern provinces. Then I received a letter not from her informing me she had died of a fever in the autumn. Isolde. Who wrote the letter? Lucien, pausing. A solicitor acting on behalf of her family. Thaddeus helped me manage the estate matters that followed. Isolde. And the things you saw before she left? The things that led you to believe she had Lucien sharp? I never told you what I saw. Isolde, no, you didn't. Silence. Then, Lucien. What do you know, Isolde? First time he has used her given name. Neither of them marks it, but both of them feel it. Isolde. I know some things. I am not yet sure of others. When I am sure, I will tell you. I need you to trust me that far. Lucien, low, careful. I am not a man who trusts. Isolde. I know. I'm not asking you to be. I'm asking you to wait. He holds her gaze. Then he picks up his fork. Lucien, I can do that. Isolde is very close now. The documents on her floor tell a story so clearly she can see it like a painting. The scene in the corridor that Lucien witnessed. The letter being passed. The man in the distinctive coat. She holds one document up to the light, a receipt. A payment for services rendered. The name on the service, a theatrical company hired for one evening. The date, a week before Lucien's life changed forever. She sits back. She has known who arranged this for some time. But she had to be certain. She is certain. She closes her eyes. When she opens them, she begins to write the letter she will give to Lucien. Then she stops. She puts down the pen. She will not tell him in a letter. She finds him walking the long gallery, as he apparently does when he cannot sleep. She has heard his footsteps before. He carries a single candle. He stops when she appears. Lucien Miss Ravenshade, Isolde. I'm ready to tell you, if you're ready to hear it. He looks at her for a long time. The candle throws his shadow high and strange across the portraits. Lucien, come to the study. He sets the candle down. The fire has burned low. He does not sit. Isolde. I need to ask you something first, and I need you to think carefully before you answer. The evening you saw Evelyn in the corridor, the man with her. What did his coat look like? A long pause. Memory is a wound being pressed. Lucien dark green, with a Vale family crest on the shoulder. I recognized it immediately. That's why Isolde. But you never saw his face. The sentence lands. Lucien, I knew the coat. I knew the crest. There was no one else who wore that livery, Isolde. There was one other person who wore it that evening. She places documents on the desk. He does not move toward them immediately. Isolde. I found a payment record in the household ledger for the summer of 1849. A theatrical company was hired for a private engagement on the estate. 3 performers. The evening you returned home a week earlier than expected. The evening you saw what you saw. He looks at the documents now. Isolde. The coat was borrowed. The whole scene was staged. Evelyn was given an unsigned letter. That morning I found the delivery receipt telling her to meet a solicitor in the East Corridor at a particular time to discuss an urgent financial matter. She didn't know she was being watched. She didn't know what she appeared to be doing. Lucien picks up a document, reads, sets it down, picks up another. His movements are very slow and very controlled. Lucien and Evelyn Isolde. She didn't die of a fever, Lucien. I traced the solicitor who wrote that letter. He's a man named Croft, retired now, in the East Country. He was retained by Thaddeus Vale for 14 months beginning in the autumn of 1849. Oh, silence. Lucien, barely audible. Thaddeus. Isolde. The payments in the ledger authorization codes I matched to his estate accounts, not yours. He arranged her departure. He arranged the rumor of her death. And he arranged what you saw in that corridor. A sound comes out of Lucien that is not a word. He turns away from the desk, one hand going to the bookshelf, and the sound that follows is grief 7 years old, being finally let into the air. He does not cry. He does something worse, he breathes, in long controlled pulls, while everything he has, built his life around, collapses into a different shape. Lucien turning back, voice stripped bare. Why? Why would he Isolde because he wanted this estate? Not to own it, to influence it. To stand beside you as your closest ally while you had no one else. Evelyn was making inquiries into his financial dealings with your father's estate. She'd found discrepancies. She told me as much herself. A terrible beat. Lucien. You've spoken to Evelyn. Isolde, she lives. She is in the northern provinces, under a different name. She never remarried. She has spent 6 years trying to find a way back to you that wouldn't destroy what little she had rebuilt. He sits down. Not gracefully, he simply stops standing. He sits on the edge of the desk, and he puts his head in his hands, and he stays there. Isolde does not touch him. She does not offer comfort words. She stands quietly in the room with him, and she lets the truth be true in silence. When he raises his head, his eyes are dry, and his face has been rearranged not into composure, into something rawer and more honest than composure. Lucien. The whole time. He was here. He sat at my table for 7 years. He told me I had to let her go. He told me that people fail each other. He told me, Isolde, yes. Lucien, a sound like breaking glass, quiet. I gave him my grief. I let him watch me lose everything, and he already knew. Isolde, fiercely, quietly. What he did to you is monstrous. What he did to Evelyn is unforgivable. But what he could not take from you did not take from you is the truth of who you were, before he reached inside your life and rearranged it. That man still exists, Lucien. I've seen him in the margins of the letters you wrote during that time. I've seen him in the way you walk this estate and know every stone of it. He is not gone. He was simply living under a lie. Lucien looks at her. Lucien, rough. Why are you here? The real reason. Why did you come to this estate? Isolde. Because Eveline is my cousin. The fire crackles. A long silence. Isolde. I spent 3 years helping her survive. And then I realized that as long as the lie remained intact, she could never come home. So I arranged the introduction through a mutual contact, someone who had access to Lord Vale's social circle. I came to find the truth, and to document it in a way that no one could dispute. Lucien, very still. You came here for her. Isolde. I came here for the truth. A silence. Lucien, not an accusation, a question. And me. She does not answer immediately. Isolde, you were the wounded part of the story. I did not come here expecting to. She stops, looks at the fire. Isolde, I expected to find a cold man in a cold house, and I was right about the house. He stands. He looks at her for a long time with an expression that is too complex for this much candlelight, and then he moves to the window and stands with his back to her. Lucien, leave me tonight, please. Isolde, of course. She goes. The door closes softly. Lucien stands at the window looking out at nothing, and the estate breathes around him. And for the first time in 7 years, the silence is not because he built it. It is simply what remains, when a lie is finally told the truth. Thaddeus is reading by the fire when the door opens without a knock. He looks up. Lucien stands in the doorway, with every document Isolde compiled in his hand. Thaddeus, carefully. Lucien. Lucien, quiet, devastatingly controlled. I want you to tell me it's wrong. I want you to look at these and explain to me why they are incorrect. He sets the documents on the reading table. Thaddeus looks at them. His expression moves through several careful arrangements and settles on something that looks almost like relief. Thaddeus. How much did she find? Lucien, a breath. All of it. Thaddeus. She's thorough. Lucien. Don't make a joke of this. Don't make it light. Do not do what you've always done, which is to make me feel as though the problem is that I cannot see things clearly, because I see them perfectly clearly now. I see them for the first time. Thaddeus, standing. Eveline was going to destroy your father's legacy. The accounting discrepancies she found, Lucien, were your discrepancies, not my father's. Thaddeus stops. Lucien Isolde found those too. The irregularities traced to your accounts, not the D'Armont estate. Eveline had discovered something about you, and so you destroyed her instead of answering for it. Thaddeus. It was more complicated than Lucien, voice breaking for the first time, then hardening. She loved me, and I abandoned her because of a coat and a staged hallway. She's been alive for 7 years, and I spent those years believing I had been made a fool of by the one person I ever... He stops, collects himself from the floor of himself. Lucien. I will be speaking to my solicitors in the morning. You will answer for what you took from this estate financially and otherwise. I suggest you consider carefully whether you wish to contest the record, because every document Isolde compiled has already been sent to 2 independent parties for safekeeping. Thaddeus. Quietly, something genuine surfacing beneath the damage. For what it's worth, I did care about you. I do. That was never false. Lucien, and yet here we are. He leaves. Thaddeus stands alone in the room with the documents and the fire and whatever remains of a man who chose the wrong thing and knew it and did it anyway. Papers, documents, legal processes set in motion. The estate has the charged atmosphere of a house in the middle of reckoning. Lucien has slept poorly. It shows but differently than his old exhaustion. This is the tiredness of someone who has been awake for genuine reasons, not the hollow wakefulness of avoidance. A knock. Lucien, come. It is Gerard. Gerard. A visitor, Your Grace. Unannounced. She says she is family. Lucien looks up. Lucien, barely breathing. Where is she? Gerard. The front hall, Your Grace. She appears. She says she's been traveling for 3 days. Lucien stands. He doesn't reach for his coat. He simply goes. Isolde D'Armont, now mid-30s, stands in the hall in a plain traveling cloak with 7 years of hard living in her face, and something in her eyes that has been waiting a very long time to stop waiting. Lucien appears at the top of the stairs. He comes down slowly. They look at each other across the space of a hallway that has held his life for 3 decades. Evelyn, voice frayed at the edges. I was going to write a letter. I tried 6 times. I couldn't find the beginning. Lucien stopping a few feet away. There isn't one. There's just here. Now. A pause. Evelyn. I want you to know what you saw. I never, Lucien. I know that now. Evelyn. When I left, I thought you had sent me away. I received a letter I believed was from you. It, said Lucien, pained understanding. He wrote letters in both directions. Evelyn closes her eyes. Evelyn. We lost 7 years. Lucien, yes. Evelyn. I don't know how to, Lucien, quietly. Neither do I. But Isolde told me something. She said that what Thaddeus couldn't take from me was the truth of who I was before he reached inside my life. I think that may apply to both of us. He extends his hand, not a romantic gesture. A beginning. An offer. She takes it. They stand in the hallway of the estate they were both supposed to share, and it is not a reunion of passion or restored love. It is something quieter and more honest than that. It is 2 people who lost each other choosing to find out who they still are. Isolde is packing. Her leather journal. Her reference volumes. A small collection of pressed botanical specimens she gathered from the garden, the only purely personal thing she has brought to this place. She moves methodically. She has completed what she came to do. The record is documented. Evelyn is here. The legal process is in motion. Her job is finished. She closes the last case. She takes one long look at the archive at the shelves she cataloged, the order she created from decades of disorder. She allows herself a moment of something that might, in a different light, be called satisfaction. Then she picks up her things and walks toward the door. Lucien is in the doorway. She stops. Lucien, I heard you were packing. Isolde. My work is finished. Lucien, is it? Isolde. The archive is cataloged. Evelyn is here. You have everything you need to. Lucien, I don't need anything. That's not what I'm. He stops, runs a hand through his hair. For the first time in the film, Lucien D'Armont does not know exactly how to construct himself. Lucien, I spent 7 years building a version of myself that did not require anything from anyone. I was quite good at it. I was told I was very convincing. Isolde, you were. Lucien, and then you came and sat across from me at dinner and argued with me about my own archive and told me that most important things are found in dull places, and you burned a letter I asked you to burn without making me feel ashamed for asking, and you stayed in the library while I collected myself against a bookshelf, like a man who'd just been thrown from a horse. He stops. She is very still. Lucien, I am not asking you to stay because I need you to. I want to be very clear about that distinction. I am asking you to stay because when I imagine this house without you in it, he stops again. Lucien, the windows. You said the estate needed its windows opened. I would like to try that, but I find I would rather not try it alone. A long silence. Isolde, carefully. I came here under a false name, under false pretenses, with a specific aim that had nothing to do with you. Lucien, I know. Isolde. And everything I found in this archive, Everything I uncovered, it was done for Evelyn, at least at first. Lucien. At first. She sets her bag down. Yep, not a decision. A postponement of one. Isolde. You are not an easy man. Lucien. No, Isolde. You are suspicious and controlled, and you use distance as a weapon. Lucien. Yes. Isolde. And you read academic papers at midnight, and you know the name of every stone in this estate, and you held your hand very still when you burned that letter, so that I wouldn't see it shaking. A pause. Lucien, quietly. You saw that. Isolde. I see most things. He takes a slow breath. Lucien. I don't know how to do this. I should tell you that honestly. I'm not sure I know the way back to being someone who... Isolde, neither do I. My husband has been dead 4 years, and I have spent those years finding other people's truths, because it was easier than sitting with my own. Lucien. Then we're both lost. Isolde. A pause, then something that is not quite a smile, but is close enough. Lost people sometimes find each other. He crosses the space between them, not to embrace her nothing so fast as that. He stops close enough that they are in each other's air, close enough that the world is only this room and this particular winter light and whatever is being chosen here. Lucien, stay. Not forever. You don't have to promise me forever. Just stay for the part that comes next. She looks at him, this man who built his damage into walls, and who is standing here with the walls down and his hands not quite steady. She picks up her bag. He watches, breath held. She sets it back on the shelf. Isolde. I'll need a better lamp for the archive. The north corner is too dark. Lucien, exhaling. You'll have whatever you need. She nods once, the way she nods when she has made a decision she is at peace with. Then she looks back at the archive around them, the neat rows, the catalogued history, the story of a house finally in order. Isolde. There's a section I haven't catalogued yet. The years before your parents, married. If you'd like to know that history too, the good parts, I can find them. Lucien, gently. I'd like that. She takes out her leather journal. He doesn't leave. He takes the chair nearest the window, not his usual distance, not the careful far side of the room, and he opens a book, and she opens her journal, and the winter light finds them both in it. For the first time in a very long time, the silence in this house is not held in place by grief. It is simply quiet, and quiet here is enough. The storm from the first night has given way to a winter sun pale and cold and present, the kind of light that doesn't promise warmth but arrives regardless. Evelyn walks in the garden with a composure that is not healed but is mending. She touches the iron fence along the east garden bed. She breathes the estate's air. From a window above, Lucien watches her. Not with heartbreak he has finally been allowed something more complicated and more honest than heartbreak. Grief, maybe. Relief. The early tentative stirring of something that might, in time, become peace. He turns from the window. Isolde is at the desk with her journal. He walks to the small table by the fire, pours 2 cups of tea from the pot Gerard left, sets one beside her without asking if she wants it. She picks it up without looking. He sits across from her and opens his book. The estate breathes around them. Outside, the old iron gate stands open. It has been closed for 7 years. Today, no one closed it,